Hey folks, welcome to this episode. It's called The Window and the Wall. Before we get into the main episode content, just a couple of bits of news. Obviously, you'll all have read or seen or heard that Charlotte FC made a bid for Miggy. That bid was not deemed acceptable by the club, and so was turned down. So despite Miggy agreeing terms and so on, Charlotte weren't able to pay what our valuation is. Obviously, we also had a sell-on clause, I think, to Atlanta, which might have affected things a little bit, but I think we wanted something like 10 million plus, and Charlotte bid well below that once they factored in wages and so on. So the MLS, to be fair, is a bit of a joke when it comes to transfers. They're not a particularly well-off league. They often shop in what we can call the bargain basement. Nothing more on Mark Guehi. Still don't know if that's real, if it's happening. Has a bid been accepted? Has it been rejected? Difficult to say. Obviously, Parish gave his interview yesterday, and actually, Guehi's been interviewed or released an interview this afternoon. Parish was, to me, saying all the things that Palace supporters want him to say. He's a generational talent. He's come from our academy or X, Y, and Z. You'd expect him to say that with your chairman. I'd expect Eagles to be saying that if someone was coming in with a mad bid for Bruno or whoever. But he said all those things. Guehi's come out in his interview today and not issued any kind of what come and get me plea, whatever. Nothing like that. Just again a professional interview. So he's looking forward to the new season. Can't wait for match day on Saturday. So that one is or is not ongoing. Who knows? For the shits and giggles, Phil McNulty from BBC, their chief sports reporter. I like Phil, to be fair. He writes a lot of really good, interesting articles. But his NUFC predictions every season just are never anywhere near the mark. And this time he's got us finishing ninth. I have no idea how he has deduced that. There are definitely not 8 teams better than us in the Premier League. Certainly now we've got all of our injuries out of the way and things like that. So yeah, have a read of that if you get the chance. And lastly, by the time you watch this, the Carabao Cup draw will have been made for the second round. Hopefully we'll get a nice home draw on that. It would be good to get some, how shall I put it, favourable draws in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup this year, given that both should be on our list of, winnable competitions this season. That's a rough idea of the news that's gone on the last couple of days. Right, so this episode is called The Window and the Wall. I want to talk to you about the wall first. In fairness, that does sound a bit like a Game of Thrones episode title, but the wall. What is the wall? We've hit the wall. What do I mean by hitting the wall? We have players that we have been trying to move on for a while now. Some in January. January was a mad scramble to try and sell players. And some now. You've got Hayden, Fraser, Jamal Lewis, Dubravka probably. I imagine Kuol will probably go out on a loan if not all right sold. Matty Target probably going to be sold. Ashby. If clubs don't want to pay the money for your players, I mean, maybe even Miggy as well, obviously, because we're obviously happy to offload him if we were talking to Charlotte, which it seems that we were. But we have all these players to offload. Because we can't offload these players, this also affects what comes in terms of incoming. Because if you look at the last 3 or 4 seasons historically, we've been shocking at selling players. Our income from selling players in the last 3 or 4 seasons has been crap. Which is one of the reasons why there's not huge amounts of room in our PSR calculations. Albeit we are on a new 3-year period, that still includes 2 years when we haven't. We sold Chris Wood. I think that's probably the only one. It's difficult. The first thing you do if you play, Football Manager. You become Newcastle manager and football manager, and you get a £200 million budget. And you think, right, let's go and buy a bunch of these players. Well, actually, it's the same on there. You can't offload, what people would call dead wood. You cannot offload them, and this is the problem we're having now. Even Fraser, who surely is going back to Southampton, but are they not paying any money for him, or does he want to pay off of his contract? I presume his wages are a lot higher at Newcastle than they would be at Southampton. We can't even get rid of him. Hayden's been on loan 2 seasons on the bounce. Jamal Lewis was on loan all last year. Dubravka's been linked with various clubs. Nothing concrete has come through. It's tough, and it does affect our incoming. So you can rant and rave all about clearing out all of these players that are no longer wanted. But unless someone wants to buy them or take them on loan and pay or not pay some of their wages, then they're not going to go. Howe's already said that anybody that he's unable to move on will go and train the 21s. And that's that. So show a bit of patience on that. You can't wave a magic wand and make people buy players that you no longer need. It's as simple as that. And you can't make them pay good money for it. I mean, how much would you sell Matty Target for? We paid, what, 15? He's not played for a year. Would we even get 10? Would we get 5? What would you take for him? What would be a fair value? You know, Miggy's the same. He's 30 now. We paid, what, 15-ish for him? Would we get that back? I don't know. You know, look at his stats. They're not great. You know, his performances are better than his stats reflect. But how much would we realistically get for him? You know, Isaac Hayden would be a nominal fee. It'd be literally just to get his wages off the books. I presume Fraser's going to end up that way. You know, we paid a lot of money for Jamal Lewis, but nobody wants him. He spent the whole season on Watford and didn't actually play huge amounts at the end. Ashby went to Swansea. You know, obviously we paid peanuts for him, but again, if nobody wants him, these are all players that are, you know, there's 6-7 players there that are probably costing us north of 150, 175 grand a week in wages, which is quite a chunk. But it is what it is. So, again, as I said, if nobody wants to buy these players or take these players on loan, the club can't sell them. It's as simple as that. So, and that not having that income affects what we can also spend on new players coming in. So that's the wall. I think we've hit the wall a bit, is what I'm saying, on outgoings. It's really difficult. The transfer window closes August the 30th. The amount of ranting and raving on Twitter and various other social media platforms, on certain YouTube channels and all sorts, about the fact that we never get our business done early is really starting to get right on my nerves. Mitchell has only been here, a month? Howe has said, and he said the same at Howe, and they both said, we are only going to spend the money on the right players that will significantly improve the starting 11. Those players don't come cheap. Those players are probably other clubs that need to bring in a replacement before they sell that particular player to us, regard for whatever fee that may be. These deals are expensive, so 60 million quid for a centre half. That's an expensive deal. Structuring that deal, how much of it's going to be up front, that affects what we can potentially spend on another player, like a winger or something. These things take time. We're not going after. I mean, people mention Brighton. Brighton are cash rich. They have been, because Chelsea have basically paid their transfer budget for about the next 5 years with some of the players they've sold, or Arsenal. They've got 50 million for Ben White, 100 million for Casido, whatever it was. But Brighton are spending 30 million on players. They're not spending 60. Now, I'm not saying that Brighton are buying average players. They're not. They're buying very good players. They always do. Brighton rarely get a transfer wrong. But they're not buying a club's superstar. They're not buying a club's best player or one of their best players. So the deals that they're doing are done early because they're not as complicated to do as the deals that we are supposedly trying to do. I think the next thing to think about, we as a club no longer leak transfer information. If you think back to it, Bruce had his favourite journalists. Rafa was a master at manipulating, trying to manipulate Ashley into getting more money, which didn't often work, but also a master at talking to the press. Even George Colkin, who I love to bits, spoke to Amanda and Meerdad a lot. And he had probably snippets of information. The ITKs and everybody else, they don't know fuck all. We are not leaking anything. If anything is leaked, it has come from the other team. No way would you. We asked Eddie about Malik Thor from Milan, and he went, "Yeah, good player." That was it. We are not leaking nothing. If anything comes out, it comes out. Did we leak anything about Bruno? Did we even know we were going to sign Bruno until bang, there it was. Bruno Guimaraes just coming to Newcastle. No one knew a thing. Isaac, similar. Osu, I imagine, from Sheffield United was an opportunistic move. We took it. Looked all right, actually. Quite like look at him. But Kelly was an obvious one. Everyone knew he was going to sign because Howe signed him at Bournemouth. He was coming to end his contract, whatever. But in general, over the last couple of seasons since Eddie's been in, the new ownership has been in, we don't leak the information. So anything coming out from people, who claim to be ITK and whatever, I just treat it now as comedy. There are some people go, "Oh, well, I'll delete my account if this doesn't happen," whatever. Crack on, son. It didn't happen. Delete your account. Do they? No. Twitter now has become a cesspit. It's all about big accounts tweeting for clicks and engagements and whatever. It's a horrible place. And some of the insults and way people speak to each other on Twitter now is unbelievable. It's become quite a toxic environment. It used to be the best place to go for a decent chat, banter, a bit of friendly ribbing, or whatever you may want to call it. But it's not now. It's a mess. I only go on there to read now. I won't really post much on there because it's difficult. And sometimes actually you think you're not one of these big accounts, you're not one of the well-known people. It's quite intimidating to try and actually write a post with an opinion and post it on Twitter. A lot of people have moved to bsky, so bsky.app. And this week, a lot of Newcastle really good fan accounts, Edit Kev, Charlotte Robson, Threat Level, Ginger Perlo, Chris F, all moved across to bsky. And it's been such a refreshing week because we're all having a really good chat like we used to have years ago when it was a Sunday night and we'd have the hashtag Pedro's bar open and Snowden would do a quiz on a Sunday night for everyone. It was really, really good. But bsky, definitely have a look at that. A lot of really good NUFC people on there. A lot of fans from all over the place I've never seen on Twitter. And the interactions are really, really good. So that kind of sums it up. So, yeah, I just wanted to go through the window on the wall. You may call me a happy clapper type. I don't mind. But I trust the process. I trust the club knows what it's doing. And even if we don't bring anybody in, everyone's forgotten that this team, plus Tonali, if you include Tonali in it, but even without Tonali and Lewis Hall, this team got us 4th in the league, near enough. That team hasn't gone. We haven't got rid of anyone from that team. This team got us 4th and got us into the Champions League and got us that special night at SJP when we stuffed PSG. So I have absolute faith that this team will get into Europe this season. I think, to be fair, I think it's been said we have to, otherwise there'll probably be a big axe coming down on someone. But trust the team, trust the process, trust the coach. He's already proven that he can get the best out of players. Look at Murphy in pre-season. Looks like prime Ronaldo. Brilliant. Plays on the right wing. Nice. Do we need to get another right winger? Yes, it would be nice to have an option. What happens if Miggy has another purple patch and bangs in a shit ton of goals? That helped us get in the Champions League. Everyone forgets that. Forgets that he had that great purple patch, which contributed to that. So all I'll say is relax. Trust the process. Watch out for the window on the wall. See what happens. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll be getting a few more out over the next couple of weeks. Good night all. Thanks.